We just had an emergency meeting of the meth.
Oh. Well, how come I wasn't invited?
Because you killed Fred!
All I did was give my opinion.
Well, your opinion stinks.
Easy, Sean.
I'm very sorry to say this, but the mathletes are subtracting you from the team.
What? Come on, I'm our best long divider.
Then you should be able to handle this long division between us and you.
When one makes art involving current trends and technologies, one runs the risk of making something that will get very dated very quickly. That's almost certainly inevitable. Striking when the iron is hot means that at some point, that iron is going to be very, very cold. So when you notice how popular internet video and streaming is getting, and you decide to make a young adult sitcom about internet videos and streaming, I don't think anyone would be surprised if elements of the show weren't as relevant nearly 20 years later. And yet, every once in a while, you'll make something that somehow feels more relevant today than it ever did. It turns out internet culture is really, really stupid. Strap in, everyone. I'm about to say some nice things about something Dan Schneider wrote. Originally airing on February 16th, 2009, iMeet Fred was the 11th episode of iCarly's second season, the 36th episode overall. It was written by series creator Dan Schneider and directed by Adam Weisman, one of Nickelodeon's most reliable directors of live action, starting all the way back with Welcome Freshmen in 1993. In the middle of one of their iCarly streams, Carly and Sam break containment into the real world and air a Fred video. Fred being the YouTube creation of Lucas Cruikshank, a series about a hyperactive 6-year-old child named Fred. Carly and Sam love Fred, but their friend and technical producer Freddie has a different opinion.
You don't want to see another Fred video?
Not really.
Why not, fudge face?
Because I don't think Fred is all that funny.
Surprised they didn't lean into the same name thing. Freddie, frustrated about another Fred on the internet being so popular. I mean, the nostalgia critic is half the reason people say they don't like Doug on here. Anyway, this is a pretty mild dissenting opinion on Fred, but it's an opinion online, and so it spreads like wildfire, and before you know it, Lucas has announced his retirement.
If you saw the last iCarly, then you heard Freddie Benson say he doesn't like my Fred videos.
Because I don't think Fred is all that funny.
Thank you for crushing my feelings. Now, I'm not going to post any more Fred videos. Ever again. Internet, I click you goodbye.
You see what you did? You killed Fred! Ah!
As you can imagine, being credited as the one that drove a popular YouTuber off the internet makes life pretty difficult for Freddie and the rest of the iCarly crew. Hate campaigns online, being ostracized at school, and even having people come to their apartment. It gets so bad that there's no course of action but to go to Lucas's treehouse in stupid, stinky Idaho and personally apologize. However, it turns out that this fictional version of Lucas Cruikshank is kind of a rat bastard. His feelings were never hurt. He just saw an opportunity and jumped on it.
See? Web traffic to iCarly.com is higher than it's ever been. People love a good fight.
Well, that's terrible. I mean, it was brilliant in a terrible way. It was terribly brilliant, okay?
So, to make things better for everybody, the Fred channel comes back and strikes up a partnership with iCarly, giving us a short crossover event as the iCarly cast are made to do that high-pitched, rapid edit, LOL so random Fred style of comedy.
Do you see my cabbage?
Oh my gosh, a person!
Why did Fred flee?
People scare me!
This ostrich thinks I'm a lady.
I want to go to the cranberry parade! I'm very Paul! More people!
Now, I was surprised to learn that this episode isn't that well regarded. Well, okay, it's the Fred episode, I'm not that surprised. There's been some reappraisal of the Fred series in recent years, but hating on the YouTube series back in 2009 was not uncommon. But a lot of the comments I've seen online recently seem upset at how irrationally angry everyone was at Freddy for a very calmly presented, lukewarm opinion. To which I say, yeah, that's the internet, baby! This is the land where saying you like pancakes gets a dozen replies angry that you hate waffles. This is the land where a woman saying she doesn't like being cornered by men on the elevator turns the atheist community into snarling pig beasts. This is the land of the ukulele apology videos. I put up a 3-second still image in support of trans rights in my work, and now scrubbing out transphobic comments is part of my morning chores every day. Things are played up to a comedic degree, sure, and the real-life Lucas Crookshank wouldn't engage in this kind of chicanery, absolutely. But the episode does reflect something that is very true to the internet back then, and is somehow still true today. YouTubers, content creators, creating fabricated drama for views because they know that fans will defend them to an absurd degree, and that the people that hate them will, in their own moments of rage, give them a click. Engagement is the only important thing. Swap out Fred with the Paul brothers and tell me this doesn't make sense. It's also kind of wild that this episode has its haters, considering it contains the single most famous scene in iCarly. The episode's B-plot involves Carly's older brother, Spencer, letting a magic meatball toy, a parody of the Magic 8-Ball, determine what he does with his day. The meatball pushing him into more absurd scenarios, until this happens.
What you got there?
It's a smoothie.
Jerry Trainor's line delivery on a smoothie will probably outlive every other thing about iCarly. Look, I know, Dan Schneider is a piece of shit. I'll never defend him as a person. But he's not an untalented comedy writer. He's a classic sitcom nerd and has good instincts for gags and timing. When he's not letting his creepy habits seep in, he can make good television. I got a few good laughs out of this.
Where does he live?
Shelby, Idaho.
That's about 4 hours from here.
My mom could drive us.
She got her license back?
I didn't say that.
Oh, the state of things where I feel I have to apologize for giving something a good review. Which is kind of the point of the episode. The internet makes everybody crazy. Yeah, iMeet Fred is a good episode of iCarly. It's funny, and it taps into a very real, very toxic attitude found on this here internet, both back then and somehow still today. The only thing that doesn't really work here is the actual Fred stuff. It's a bit of a clash, because it turns out that the comedy style of a 16-year-old YouTuber doesn't quite mesh with the comedy style of a 43-year-old television veteran. It's still a pretty significant episode though, for this is the beginning of Fred's extended relationship with Nickelodeon. Lucas Crookshank would be profiled on Nick News about 4 months later, in June of 2009. Then we would have the 3 Fred movies produced by future Nickelodeon president Brian Robbins, and premiering on Nick annually between 2010 and 2012. The first one even had iCarly star Jeanette McCurdy in it. And finally, the single-season Fred the Show in 2012. That's quite the impressive run for a kid who got his start making silly videos of him in a witch hat one day. You know, good job. Even if you don't like it yourself, iMeet Fred is a pretty pivotal episode of both iCarly and a Nickelodeon going to the 2010s. An episode that immortalized the series with its comedy, and an episode that opened the door to Nick embracing internet culture in their programming. Not just Fred, but eventually Awesomeness TV and the Fine Brothers. And there was even an internet video-themed game show called Webheads for a minute there. Those shows aren't very good, but they were there, and I think Nickelodeon's relationship with Fred is what got them there. It's certainly an interesting angle to explore, and maybe, if I somehow make it to the Schneider 2000s, we'll explore it at length. For now though, this was just a sample.